Okay, I would like to take a moment and review, as I've seen many YouTubers do, the Ravnica Guild Battle Event. I've seen a couple of videos that are reviewing the decks. Just, the titles, I haven't really watched them, so I don't know for certain if they're going to say, if they've already said what I said, or if they're aware of what this is, but let's go ahead and get into it. Um, Number one, these prizes are pitiful. Land art from Kaladesh? Is that what this is? Who cares? It's land art. That's it. That's This is our prize structure. Basic land art. And when we get our sixth win, a full art forest from Unglued, when we put it onto the field, it looks exactly like any other land. Because, like, they shrink, these cards shrink to near squares, so it's like, what? What is the, what are these prizes? They're nothing. These prizes are nothing. Why is this taking the play? What they've done is they've said, here are some basic lands that we could just put in the game, but instead we think we're going to just trickle them out to you as prize support for participation in events instead of actual prizes we could give you that are valuable. It'd be one thing if it was like, here's one of every, like, even then it's kind of like but it'd be one thing if it was like, here's one of every four, or here's one of every land from Unglued or Unhinged or whatever the hell this one is, and it was one of every, basic art land there, and then like the sixth one was one of the full art lands from what's it called, Unstable, that the most recent one I believe, where it was completely full art, and then like they continued that for the next four events to follow that would give us the full art for the other basic lands. But no, why? This is pitiful. This is pitiful as hell. Prize support. Like, I get it, there's no entry fee, but even with, like, Chronicles of Ravnica during the War of the Spark series, number one, well, I won't say it's made interesting. I mean, it was made interesting because of the various decks you could build. But number two, there was gold. I mean, it wasn't much gold, but it was something in between the glass styles. And there were glass styles that you'd win. But this is nothing. This is flat out nothing. This is pathetic. These are pathetic prizes. And I don't know why they're here. I don't. Okay. Part 2 of my review of the Ravnica Guild Battle. Let's go. Let's do like I'm sure the other YouTubers have done. Let's go. Let's check out, this deck and review this deck and see, what's the best, how they all play, whatever, what have you. None of that matters. Okay? Because for those of you who don't know, these decks are the guild decks you win if you've made a new account after the July 2nd update. These are the guild decks you win from the little progress wheel from Sparky, wherever that is. Mastery. Can I switch to the? Nope. I guess I can't since I finished it. But this wheel from for new players. These are the decks that you win from that. There's nothing great about that. Like, okay, let me explain to you what's happened with this update. Okay. Um, in their July 2nd State of the Beta announcement, they talk about how they wanted to create decks. They wanted to create new decks for the NPE, new player experience, is what they called it. So anyone who joined after the July 2nd update would not be getting the decks that were prior to that update. They wouldn't be getting the Auras of Mastery. Instead, they'd be getting actual direct guild decks. So this is the Selesnya Conclave deck they would be getting instead of Auras of Mastery. And it's the same thing with the basic decks. Red, white, blue, green, black. It's the same deal. There are new decks that you get if you're a new player post July 2nd. And once you've completed the wheel and once you've gotten to rank 25, you have all of these decks unlocked. And in their announcement, I've talked about this before, so sorry if you're hearing this and you're bored of what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to recap this since the event is actually happening now, and I can explain why it's stupid. Okay. In their State of the Beta article they released prior to the July 2nd update, they said, we're updating the decks that new players get. And we will make it so that current players will get the decks before or on the update following rotation. So, sometime in October. Early October is when rotation's going to happen, I believe. And the excuse they gave for it was that they're not going to be available right away because of a, quote, new technology, unquote, they're working on. And prior to the July 25th update, they announced what this new technology was. You want to know what this new nothing technology was? Just this event that they've planned here, this Ravnica Guild Battle Event. This is their, quote, new technology. They even say it. They might even, no, they don't put it in quotes, but they say directly, this is the new technology we talked about in our last article. This is not a technology. Okay, let me explain to you what this is. Okay, this isn't, we held back these updated decks in the case of, or for the sake of new technology. That is not a valid reason. Okay? And this is number one why this or number three, whatever. This is another big reason as to why this guild battle is so stupid. Because if you have a new account post July 2nd, you have the ability to unlock these decks. You play these decks like randomly, just from random matchups since the July 2nd update. You've seen these around that are just people who have gotten new accounts that unlock these decks that are playing with them now. Not only that, but if you are one of those accounts and you're playing with these decks and you just go up against someone randomly, there's a chance that your Selesnya Conclave deck will get paired up against House Dimir. And so, the uniqueness of this event is pretty not unique at all. Because there's a chance you could just match up with this crap anyway. Okay, we'll call it number two. We'll call it number two the reason why this number two the reason why this Ravnica Guild Battle Event is stupid. Number one being the fact that these prizes are not prizes and they're stupid and pointless. Number two, the fact that the pool of decks you pick from are the exact same deck that you can unlock. They're the exact same 10 guild decks you can unlock if you have a new account after July 2nd. And here's where the most insulting... Here's what's happened. In the name of this, quote, new technology, unquote, Wizards has decided not to update accounts with the ability to unlock these decks that existed prior to July 2nd. And instead, just have them here for this special event that I'm sure took a whole lot of brain power to think up. Okay. So, as a result of that, what's happening is that Wizards is holding back a large pool of meta cards from already having existed players. They're holding back those cards from them being able to do that, because here's what happens to accounts that existed prior to July 2nd. They don't. All of these decks have meta relevant cards. They don't have, they don't. Their accounts don't get updated with 3 free mortifies or let's see what else. The Basilica Bellhaunts or the Kaya's Wrath, Seraph of Scales, even maybe depending on the deck you're running. The obvious reason, all the Shocklands. Every Shockland is in these decks. They don't get 1 copy of each Shockland. It's so difficult to, unless you just give them hundreds of dollars at a time, it's so difficult for people to make decks in the game, even if you're giving them money. But again, unless it's hundreds at a time, you're going to struggle a lot. It's so difficult to make these decks. Like, what are you... Wizards has effectively decided to say, no, screw the people that exist already that haven't given us a crap ton of money. We're not going to update these decks for them as free until rotation. So we're going to deprive 99%, I would assume, 90 to 95% of our players of 1 Shockland for each guild color, a bunch of nice meta cards, a single Spawn of Mayhem, a single Dreadhorde Butcher, some Skewer the Critics, Light Up the Stage, it's good for mono red. Bedevil, very important, very meta removal for Rakdos colors. And they've just decided, no, we're not gonna let people have these. If they want to play with them, guess what? They're gonna need to craft them. But if they craft them, it's like, well, they could have just waited 3 months and they wouldn't have had to craft them. But they want you. The message that they're sending is that they want you to use your wild cards. And it's just like, why? Why is that the message you want to send people? Why do you want to, say to them, instead of throwing you the smallest bone ever, like, instead of, for those who have, already been playing a bit, instead of giving you a nice Shockland to complement the other lands that came from Ixalan, I think some are Ixalan, some are Dominaria. Instead of giving you a nice Hollowed Fountain to complement your 1 Glacial Fortress, instead of giving you, what's a good example here? Instead of giving you some Dovin's Acuity you could play with, instead of giving you, let's see, what's another good example? Let's go here. Instead of giving you a single Hydroid Krasis you could play around with, instead of giving you 1 Incubation Druid when you're going to need 4 for whatever deck you're building, instead of just giving you a little bit, instead of just giving you some breadcrumbs, we will instead not do that. Because it's like, whatever deck you're trying to build that you want to make competitive is going to need multiple copies of crap anyway, most likely in 4s. All right? And instead of giving you, 1 single... Where is he? Just so speak. Instead of giving you just 1 Deputy of Detention, when your deck's going to need 3 to 4, and you're still going to need to spend, the wild cards to craft those, instead of just giving you 1, instead of just giving you just a little bit, just a taste, they're not going to give you any of it at all. And that, for what? This, quote, technology of a piss-poor event? I got no words for this. I got no words, Did they not want people to build slightly not as crappy starter decks by giving them twice as many to just try and make stuff with? Screw you if you want Rhythm of the Wilds, you got to pull it or craft it. You don't get to. Screw you if you want Pelt Collectors, you need to craft all 4. We can't just give you 1. This is... I don't know when I'm posting this. It's either before or after my pack opening video. that I actually did a little bit ago, which if it hasn't been posted now, it'll be posted next. But I also talk about in that video just how Wizards practices are going to continue to be stupid and unimpeded for a very long time without many repercussions, and that's just kind of the way it is. And I get into why and how there's maybe a glimmer of hope in that, but this is it's insulting. The fact that you are so cheap and you want so much for people to spend their wild cards when they could save just a quarter of them, maybe 20% of them, maybe, instead of letting players, whether they're free to play or have given you some money, instead of giving them just a little bit to help them in their deck building process, you've elected to not do that. It's so incredibly greedy. I get it. I guess that I don't know. I can't say that I'd be just as mad on the other end and say like, where the hell's the second Steam vent, or this is nothing, what the heck? But, this takes the cake. This is the fact that those running MTG Arena would not budge to give players just a little bit more help, just a little bit extra, card pool to pick from that help them build decks. Here's a one runaway Steamkin that you wouldn't have to craft making mono red. Some electrostatic fields you wouldn't have to craft making some kind of a burn variant, which is a very fun deck, by the way. I'll probably have a profile up for that soon. Very, very fun. Just the fact that they decided to not update that for existing players is just another example of how disrespectful they are to their customers, to their players, to their fans, whatever. And this is the state of the game we live in now, where not even the slightest bit of breadcrumbs are given out to people. Because this would have been the slightest breadcrumb. This one expansion explosion, some chemist's insights, like I said, the Steamkin, the fields, lava coils, hell, that's meta. The fact that these were not provided, these little breadcrumbs of competitive deck building, these tools for competitive deck building weren't included in the update, is so horrendously disrespectful and stupid and cheap, and it shows how little it shows Wizards' true focus, which is just 100% money. I'm not saying, companies shouldn't make money. I'm not saying, the pursuit of profit isn't one that companies should go about. But what I am saying is that a complete lack of any kind of balanced approach to business beyond that is sickening. And again, I talk about it in my other video, which again, it'll have been posted or not. I'm not sure which order I'm going to do this, but that is a philosophy that Wizards is going to continue to show moving forward, that is going to have a very, very, very long time until the consequences of it are felt, because they're just going to continue to sell and make money from overpriced online digital goods at packs that are way more than $1 a piece. I've done a video on it. Go check it out. Way more than $1 a piece, where it's more expensive to play MTG Arena than actual paper Magic. We're just going to continue to see all these bad PR business decisions that get your customer base pissed off. They're going to keep coming, and it's going to be a long time until the pendulum swings the other way and they'll actually start getting backlash from it. And that's kind of I feel like that's kind of the state that maybe that's what starts not the revolution, but maybe that's what starts things to turn around, which is just people who are already in the game accepting that as just if you continue to play the game, you're gonna have to continue to be prepared to be disappointed by the new decisions that Wizards, rolls out, whether it's holding back, giving players that are already in the game new decks that have just a little sprinkle of meta cards that they could use in deck building, or whether it's, having implementing new judge programs where judges now have to pay to be judges, uh, by making a shell corporation that takes that over in order to give yourself enough separation for legal purposes, or whether it's allowing certain players to cheat versus other players to not cheat. It's just we're we have to, like I said, maybe that's the way things get turned around, is just players that already exist in the game just kind of accepting that as they're going to continue to do this without the repercussions. So as you go forward in the game, just kind of accept that. Like don't look forward to shit. Don't be super upset when it does happen. Don't Just go forward in the game with that mindset, and then also imparting kind of that message to new players. Just like, hey, if you want to play this game, cool, but also it's in a shit state right now, and it's going to continue that way. So maybe don't put so much stock in whatever you're trying to get out of this game, whether it's a new way to spend your free time, a new hobby, trying to get some kind of fulfillment or happiness out of it. Just kind of take a measured approach to it, because changes are going to continue to happen that are negative. And Arena is a good example of that, because you really think they're going to change the price of what it costs to play this game on Arena? Because they're not. One of the things, I've been thinking about making a video, which I still might do, just talking about kind of maybe, three, I've talked about it before, but maybe like a targeted video of like 3 or 4 significant changes that they could do to Arena that would just blow it out of the water and make it just so much of a better game. One of those is just being, cut the prices of packs in half across the board. Um, Maybe another one is like to, when you cut prices in half, also make it so that, say for each of these bundles, for a one time, for the first time you purchase those bundles, or maybe just the 90 pack bundle, for the first time you purchase it, it's half off. So all those packs end up being a quarter a piece instead of $1 a piece like they are right now. Um, Changes to what you get for cosmetic upgrades, just things like that. Things that are a no-brainer to like make your system better, but they're not motivated to make it better because they've got the whales dumping the money into it. They've got the 95% of everyone else that are dumping their $5, $10, $20 into the game, seeing the ridiculous price wall associated with it, and either walking away from it or just kind of begrudgingly playing it, trying to get what they can from the free-to-play model. Um, it's just these are things that are not going to change, and that's just the way it's going to be for a very long time with Magic. And it's sad. It's sad that we're going to see this company not even go under, just be in a crap state for such a long time. Um, will the downfall occur? Maybe. Eventually, probably. But until that happens, we've got a very, very long time of paper players just getting pissed off. Whether it be judge programs or just whatever else you can think of, um, or whether it's online players, like I said, that are either the whales that are taking out second mortgages just to buy packs, or if it's the people that are spending a handful of dollars on it and then realizing, oh crap, there's nothing here. I was chatting with someone on their live stream, and I guess it was one of his moderators or something that was chatting with me, and I was like, MTG, I was not explaining, I was just asserting because I didn't feel like typing that crap up. It's like, if you want to know, I'll either link a video which you didn't like, so whatever, fuck off. Um, but I'd either link a video, or if you care, I'll type about it. But I'm not going to type it up if you're just going to not pay attention or ignore it or whatever. But anyway, the hell was I getting at? Oh, just that, making the assertion that MTG Arena is more expensive than Paper Magic, just because it is. It is. There's no. I feel so strongly about it. I don't think there's an argument against it. Not a legitimate one anyway, because all you have to say is, oh, packs in here are $1 versus $3.99 MSRP in the real world. And sure, if you want to hide behind that sophomoric, just idiocy of an argument, go ahead. But things are going to be bad for a while, and we're gonna keep seeing, like I said, and then I'll just wrap this up because I'm repeating myself. I know we're gonna keep seeing bad decisions, anti-consumer decisions, greed-based decisions, and like I also talk about in my other video, politically based decisions, continue to dominate, like literally dominate. Like there's not going to be anything else like that comes out of Wizards. Those are just going to be the decisions that keep coming from them, and just be prepared. Be prepared. They're not going to let up. They're not going to change course. They're going to keep getting away with it until it hurts them financially somewhere. And I'm not sure what form that will take, except maybe people just ultimately walking away from it over the course of time, and then them realizing at some point, oh crap, we have to make some changes. Which who the hell knows what kind of state the game's going to be in at that point anyway. So. That's all I got for this. The wrap-up is just, this event is stupid. The prizes are stupid. The fact that they do not update accounts that existed prior to July 2nd with the ability to unlock these guild decks is stupid and cheap and greedy, and that's it. So, this isn't like the other videos where they review the decks. I ain't reviewing the decks, because the other videos may not even know that these are the decks that we will eventually be updated with, rather than actually have them to play with now, which is just flipping a switch. That's all it would be. But instead of flipping the very easy consumer-friendly switch that would allow everyone to have these decks, not just the newer players, instead of doing that, they would rather have you spend the wild cards for the 1.5 decks you'd like to build to maybe be competitive this season, because that's all you're going to be able to do for this 3-month period. So that's all I got. Just get ready for more crap decisions, insulting decisions, not thought through decisions, because they're a coming.